We always tell ourselves we'd know what to do in a life or death situation. We think we'd spot the trap. But when you're desperate, you ignore the red flags. I ignored every single one. And if I had stayed 10 seconds longer, I never would have made it home to tell this story. This happened during my junior year of college back in 2012. My old sedan had finally died, and I was working 2 waitressing jobs just to pay tuition. I didn't have money for a dealership, so I turned to Craigslist and hoped to find a good deal. I've heard other friends of mine get good deals on TVs, cars, and my roommate had recently bought an iPhone on there for almost half off the retail price. One day, while I was on my lunch break, I was browsing the car ads on Craigslist when I found a 2001 Honda Civic listed for $1,500. The description was short. Runs good. Clean title. 75,000 miles. Need gone today. Looking back, the price and mileage was way too low, but at the time, I just saw a miracle. I called the number. The seller, who called himself Greg, replied almost instantly. He was pushy. He said he had other buyers coming, and if I wanted it, I had to come right now with cash. Against my better judgment, I'd tell him I would go after work. My shift ended at 5 p.m., and it was July, so I'd still have sunlight by the time I got out of work. I told my coworker Jim about the deal, and he agreed to come with me after work. The address the seller sent me was 45 minutes away, deep in the rural outskirts of town. I remember the drive vividly, because as soon as we turned onto his gravel road, the trees seemed to close in. There were no streetlights, no other houses, just thick woods. I pulled up to the address. It was a small, dilapidated ranch-style house with peeling white paint. The grass was knee-high, but the weirdest part? There was no Honda Civic in the driveway, just an old rusted truck on cinder blocks. Me and Jim just looked at each other, then back at the house, confused. Did we make a wrong turn? Was this a scam? Or was this something worse? All these thoughts were racing through my head. Every instinct I had screamed, turn around. But I was really desperate, and I needed this car. So, against my better judgment, I stepped out and walked out to knock on the front door. I didn't even make it to the porch before the front door opened and a man stepped out. He looked to be in his late 40s, wearing dirty jeans and a stained t-shirt. He didn't smile. He didn't say hello. He just stared at me. "Are you here for the car?" he asked. His voice was flat but grainy, like if he smoked a pack every 12 hours or something. I nodded and asked where it was. He pointed a thumb over his shoulder toward the backyard. "It's round back," he said. "Behind the shed. I actually dropped the keys in the tall grass back there. Come give me a hand finding them, and I'll let you test drive it." The hair on my arm stood up. Why was the car behind a shed? Why did he need me to walk into the backyard to find keys? "I'll wait here," I said. "Just pull it around." His face changed. The blank expression turned into a scowl. He took a step off the porch, moving toward me, aggressive and fast. "Just come back here," he snapped. That was it. I didn't say another word. I scrambled back into Jim's car and locked the door. He was yelling now, running toward the car, reaching for the handle just as Jim started the engine. He threw it in reverse and slammed on the gas, tires spinning on the gravel. As the car swung around, the headlights swept across the side of the house. And that's when my blood turned to ice and all the hairs on my neck stood up. Standing on the side of the house, pressed against the wall where I couldn't see them from the driveway, were 4 men. They were all wearing ski masks, and they were holding baseball bats. They were waiting for me to walk into that backyard. The car didn't exist. It was just bait. I reported the ad to Craigslist, but it had been removed and I could no longer find it. I also called the police and gave them the number, but it turned out to be from a burner phone. They never found Greg, and there wasn't much they could do as no crime had really happened. They did take my information just in case, but I never heard anything from them again. If you take anything from this story, let it be this. If a deal seems too good to be true, it is. And always follow your instincts, they could potentially save your life. When you're a freelancer, you learn to ignore a few red flags just to get a paycheck. But the gig I took a few years ago didn't just cost me my gear. It almost cost me my life. This happened about a few years ago near downtown Los Angeles. I'm a freelance photographer, and like many people trying to make ends meet, I used to scour Craigslist for quick gigs. I don't do that anymore. Here's the story of why. It started on a Tuesday. I was low on rent, and I went looking for ads on Craigslist, like I normally have in the past. I found a post asking for industrial interior shots for a real estate listing. The pay was $500 for 2 hours of work. Cash. I emailed the lister, asking for more details as it seemed like a really good gig. I got an email almost instantly back from a guy named Chris, and he sent me an address deep in an industrial park, about a few blocks from downtown LA near the 10 freeway. He wanted me there at 10 p.m. to catch the night lighting. I needed the money for rent, so I didn't question the late hour. When I pulled up, the place looked abandoned. No security lights, just a massive brick building with a rusted sliding door left slightly ajar. I texted Chris through the listing. "I'm here." No reply. I grabbed my camera gear and walked toward the opening. It was freezing inside and smelled like stagnant water and oil. I called out, "Hello? Photographer here." My voice just echoed into the darkness, dead silence. Everything about this just felt off. I was starting to get a bad feeling in the pit of my stomach. Then I heard it. Not from in front of me, but from behind. The sound of the heavy metal door rolling shut on its tracks. I spun around. The gap I had walked through was gone. 3 men stepped out from behind a stack of pallets near the entrance. They weren't real estate agents. They were wearing dark hoodies and ski masks. The one in the middle was holding a crowbar. My stomach dropped. I didn't wait for them to speak. The guy with the crowbar lunged, and I did the only thing I could think of. I swung my heavy camera bag as hard as I could into his face. He stumbled back, shouting in pain, creating a small gap between him and the wall. I sprinted. I heard them shouting, heavy boots pounding on the concrete behind me. I didn't look back. I saw a fire exit sign glowing faintly about 50 yards away. I hit the door with my full weight. It burst open into an alleyway. I scrambled over a chain-link fence, ripping my jeans and slicing my hand open. But I didn't stop running until I reached a gas station 2 miles down the road. Once I got to the gas station, the attendant behind the counter looked at me crazy and told me to get out. After pleading with him that I was just attacked, he then called the police for me and gave me a bottle of water. The police went to the warehouse an hour later, but it was empty. My camera bag was gone, obviously, and my car had been ransacked. The officer told me I was lucky, that crews like that usually aren't looking to just rob you. They want to make sure there are no witnesses. I felt thankful to be alive. I lost well over $2,000 in equipment, but was alive. I never heard back from the police regarding the case. The ad was also deleted on Craigslist, so the police really couldn't do much other than go off my statement. Needless to say, I've deleted my Craigslist account and never took gigs from there again. One piece of advice I can give to others who do freelance work: if a job feels too good to be true, it probably is. Trust your gut. If you made it to the end, thank you for listening. Stories like this are reminders that sometimes the scariest things aren't monsters. They're real people. If you enjoy true horror stories like this, make sure you like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. And if you have a story of your own, leave a comment below. Until next time, stay safe and trust your instincts.